Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show with special guest Bob Hope. No, not Bob Hope. It's Bill Goodman of NWS at Upton, and we'll start our conversation. But first, the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware. Long Island's they've been busy, and they were ready for this winter storm, and they're there to keep you ready for the next winter storm, or if you still haven't cleaned up from this one. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. They have the best prices in town. They have all the rock salt you need. They have all the best snow melt products out there, including Penelo. And just in case your shovel broke, they've got shovels, scrapers, snow blowers, and much more. So head to Omni True Value Hardware, Long Island's largest rock salt source, and also they are a local business, and no better time than these days to be supporting local businesses. So we're in a three-box tonight. We have Bill Goodman on the bottom, and of course Joe Rayo on my left. And
Joe Rayo's playing with his camera right now.
So. Yes, apparently he is. So before we get started, I just want to I want to apologize to WTS Weather. I didn't direct the rant the other day to him, but he reached out to me today, and apparently, because we get, we get people that apparently love to not love our show, Bill. So they spend their time not liking our show. So, and I apologized back. I thought maybe he was part of the crowd, but he apparently was not. So I just wanted to say everything is okay. So hopefully he'll be on the chat board tonight. And anyway, it's the mid-December storm. It took a good 6.5, 7 weeks to get this one in here. Boy, was this something else. And I know you're tired, Joe Rayo. You're tired, Bill Goodman, and I'm tired because that snow weighed a ton today.
Well, it's frustrating because my lovely wife and I, we were outside for 4 hours with the snow blower, with the snow shovels. We had to do the long driveway. The top of the driveway is quite wide. Then we moved to the side of the house. Then we moved down to the back patio, and we also did the wonderful deck, the deck which never gets any direct sunlight because it faces to the north. Got everything all cleaned off, actually had large patches of blacktop showing on the driveway, which made me very happy. We got up to 30 degrees, which was the warmest we've been for a couple of days. And then all of a sudden, about 5 o'clock, Renato looks out the window and says, "Hey, it's snowing again." And this wasn't a flurry. This was steady, light snow. And yours truly has just come back inside 10 minutes ago after scraping away anywhere from a quarter to a third of an inch of new snow, which is on everything that we scraped away and blew out this morning and this afternoon. And if this is not frustrating, I don't know what is.
Well, I'm snowing here. I just checked upstairs. We have a nice, steady, light snow. With a brisk wind and a temperature of about 30 degrees, so it's sticking on everything. And Bill, I'm not too far from you, so I'm sure you probably got those little snowflakes flying around as well.
Yeah. So we didn't really have our street plowed that well, so when it started snowing, that's when the plows finally came and made a second pass, and it was actually, I didn't mind it. It was a heck of a lot better than how we started off.
So what did you said you couldn't measure at your house? I had 15. Joe, what did you have?
Well, actually, I sent a storm report to the National Weather Service, as I always do.
I saw it.
I did that at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I actually said storm total because in my mind, all right, we might get a couple of flurries here overnight, but it's not going to add anything more to what I've already amassed, which was 17.5 inches. But now maybe I have to send something to the Weather Service because now it looks like it's more like 17.8 inches with the quarter or a third of an inch that's out there on my driveway net right now. And I measure in a variety of different spots with the yardstick. And this was just an absolutely amazing situation. Not so much in terms of the amount of snow, because in 18 and a half years of being up here in Putnam Valley, we've seen our fair share. But the fact is, it's just been ongoing. It started at 10 o'clock on Sunday night. It stopped a little bit during this afternoon, and now it's picked up once again. And we may be going into a almost two consecutive days of steady snow of varying degrees. Unbelievable.
Those bands coming in were amazing, and Bill, I want you to know that I followed them on the National Weather Service new radar. You know
Oh,
where
good for
you know where I'm going with this, don't you?
don't shoot me.
No, I know, but they got to do something, Bill. They got to do something about. You can't see it. The resolution's terrible. They got to do something about that.
You know what I do? I go on the Upton website,
And
and I know that they have radar at the bottom of the page. Back in the day, Bill, I know you have nothing to do with this. Back in the day, like a couple of months ago, I would just simply click on that, and boom, my whole screen would be filled with an enlarged version of that, with county borders and beautiful clear colors and everything else. Now I can't do that, because when I click now on that, I just get a static image, and I have to go through some machinations to get it to move. First, I have to wait for it to load up and everything. It's driving me batty.
aren't you glad you came on the show? Aren't you glad, Bill, you sent that message to me about 30 minutes ago? With says you wanted to come on.
Beat up on the weatherman. Beats up on.
You got you.
Thanks a lot.
I have two very they're very humble requests. Fix the radar and get the NCEP to get that EPO index back up on the screen, please. Because
that's
I
right.
mean I know how to figure it out just by visually. You can look at a pattern and you know when the EPO is going negative. But I really like to see the charts and everything because I can put them on the air. By the way, can you please explain, because this is apparently I didn't even realize it was a controversy, or maybe that's just too strong a word. What is the total? What's the park total? Because two numbers came out last night. One was higher than the other. One was like 18, and the other one was 15. The 15 at the
one
time
was 2 inches higher than the other. That was got a little bit of wires crossed during the evening when we got the 7 p.m. snowfall from the park. I guess I had called out and asked how much snow we'd had storm total, and I think the 2 inches from the day before from the night before somehow got included twice when they were
okay. So to be clear, then, so 2 inches fell on Sunday night, which means it was part of January's number. So January actually had measurable snow. It almost went the whole month with just the point one or trace or whatever it was. So they had 2 was on Sunday night, and 15. So what are we at? 17.3 right now is the standing number.
I guess so. That's at that point it was like 16.3.
Right, and then there was another inch overnight, so I think it's at 17.3.
Yeah, and big difference. If it had been 18.3, that would have been a top 10 for the city.
Maybe this last burst here might put them over the top. You never know.
Does it? Yeah, I mean, if they get over 18 inches, yeah, if we're counting that all as a storm, part of the same event, sure.
Well, I got
it's definitely top 20.
I have the numbers here from weather.gov/source/CRH/snowmap. I love this. You just stick in. I got this on from Boston's website, and I just changed Boston to New York, and you can move it all over the place to get specific numbers. There are some hefty numbers here in New Jersey. 29.6 in Bud Lake, Denville, New Jersey, 20.3. There's a 29.3 here. Randolph, 29.3, 29.6. That was at Bud Lake. I already said that. There's a 30 up in Sandyston Township in New Jersey. I guess that's up in Sussex County. And I see a 30.5 here on the Pennsylvania side. Penn Argyle, Pennsylvania. Penn Argyle. Pennsylvania.
Like the Sox?
Well, yes, as in the Sox. 15.7 in Brewster. I'm trying to find yours, Joe Rayo. Let me see if I could find you. 15.5 west, 4 miles west of Wingdale, New York.
Wait a minute, that's 17.5. Is that mine?
17.5 near northeast, 3 miles northeast of Hopewell Junction.
No, you got to go further south, Joe. I'm right on
Okay.
I'm
So
right on the Putnam Westchester line. A little ways above Peekskill, there's a 17.5.
what I love about this graphic is if you get close enough, you could see the streets. You know. No, there's a 17.1. Now, this was I don't know what the time. I think these amounts were all. Oh, this is some obs here from later this afternoon. So there's some new plots here. I don't see yours here. There's
Well,
an 18. No,
but
that's.
you're in Dutchess, Putnam. You got
I'm
to
in
go further
Dutchess.
south.
All right. Hang on.
Go south, young man.
Well, here's Lake Carmel. Well, Brewster's on the Westchester side, right?
No, Brewster's in Putnam.
Well, okay, so that's on the southern end of Putnam.
It's Brewster's in southeast. In fact, there's a town southeast, which is.
Yeah, no, Joe, there's a whole big gap in there in the middle where your number should be.
Look, see where Peekskill is at the bottom of your screen?
Yeah.
On the lower left?
Yes. Okay.
And see that there's a 17.5?
Yes.
So.
Oh, Putnam Valley, 17.5. Okay, so
there
that's
you. Go.
There it is. We found Joe Rayo's ob. Yay!
Hey!
By the way, let me just really quick say thank you to Kylo Tech hitting Super Chat tonight. Shoveling cement blocks 3 times in East Orange was not fun, he said. Nearly 20 inches with huge drifts. And Anthony Camuccio also hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, gentlemen, very, very much indeed. And Long Island numbers, Bill, were actually fairly uniform west of Riverhead. They were all between, a dozen to 15 to 15, 16. There was an 18.1 in East Northport, 17.6 in Hicksville, but the East End got a bit less, 4.5 in Bridgehampton, and I don't have anything further east in there, but Mattatuck got 11, and Riverhead got 13. So, this is not the first time it's happened where we think that Long Island winds up getting less, and they turn out to be almost even with everybody else. Sometimes we're higher.
That was the big surprise to me. I would have thought that anywhere across Suffolk, you go into Suffolk County and you go from west to east, and I thought we were going to see a noticeable drop off in terms of the snow amounts. Everywhere else, of course, we really, I think, did a very good job. I was saying to myself on Sunday when I made up my second and last snow map, I had that area in New Jersey of 20 inches. I said, let me put that there just in case or whatever. And it turned out I was still in some cases one foot wrong.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Crazy. Coastal New Jersey, Alan at Seaside had a couple of inches before he turned over to rain, and then he was basically sleeting for about 15 straight hours. Alan Casper. Toms River, 4 inches, 10 miles to the inland near the Garden State Parkway. Brick getting 5.3. 1 mile west-northwest of Manasquan got 5, 8.5 in Long Branch, and then you go inland to Freehold, 12.5. The chairman, Manalapan, I think he told me he had 11, 9.5 in Trenton. Philadelphia, I've come up with this new rule with Philadelphia. Whatever they put out for Philadelphia, cut it in half. Because they always seem to come. They're in that perpetual slow hole over there, Bill. They always seem to come in under for some reason. And 7.7 there.
Mm.
I've stunned you.
I remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is.
I remember the 1983 blizzard, the great megalopolitan blizzard that went from Washington to Boston, 1 to 2 feet along that line. And in Philadelphia, I think they had something like 23 or 24 inches. But I still have all of the special weather statements and observations from that storm. And the one that stands out in my mind is the one that was put out by the Philadelphia Weather Office Uh, as they were heading toward the end of the storm, the headline read, "This is one you're going to tell your grandkids about." And it was absolutely true. I mean, Philadelphia, at least that one time, they got buried with that particular storm, and they missed out this time. But who knows? We still have half of winter to go.
Lakeville, PA,
Oh yeah.
34. Hawley, PA. I've been to Hawley, Pennsylvania, up in Pike County, 34. John Delaney on the chat board said that there was somebody might have put down a 40, but I don't see it plotted on the map. The 34 seems to be the biggest numbers. It's funny too how the big numbers in Pennsylvania showed up. Bill, you and I talked the night before talking about the fact that there would probably be some crazy numbers in some of the big hills. Uh, out west, inland of the coast, and certainly that showed up uh, back, in
Yeah, then
Northwest Jersey and beyond.
not quite that high. I remember the Canadian regional was spitting out big numbers like that. And I thought, oh, that's just too crazy. I could see 2 feet, but not 3 feet. I guess.
Well, I mean, we have the Binghamton storm from December to know that you can go to 3 feet with the 40 plus inches that they had there. The
Sure,
upper
sure.
low took an almost perfect track for uh, for us to be in this type of, the kinds of numbers that we put up here with these double digits. We've had double digit storms before, clearly, and we're going to have them again. I don't know. I guess maybe because of the fact that it was 7 weeks between drinks at the well, everybody seems much more worked up about about these numbers, and having enjoyed it. Connecticut numbers were generally some places above a foot, some places below, but it depends on, I don't know what the times on all these obs are. Boston did not do quite as well in Boston itself, at least close to the water, with just a few inches. But I mean, you didn't have to go that far inland. Winchester at 18, 12 to 18 in many inland areas in eastern half of Massachusetts. And then further up, we've got numbers 9 to 12 across southern New Hampshire, some 10, 12 inch amounts up in parts of Bennington, Vermont. I'm sorry, Woodford, Vermont, 17 inches, 15.2 in Landgrove, Vermont, where, the state that has no billboards and Stewart's, the 7-Eleven for angry old men, as I like to describe it. So, look, certainly we could. I think it's pretty fair to say that this storm, at the very least, performed as advertised by models, and I would make a case that it probably outperformed in a lot of instances.
Yeah, at least the Canadians seem to have it right about the big numbers. I know we actually early on. I think we were catching flack for going as high as we were because we saw the NAM come into focus and see some of its numbers. We're
Right.
like, oh, we've been through this before. And
Well, I will tell you, Bill. I got my feathers ruffled by someone who first thing yesterday morning on my morning weather post that I did on Facebook. I guess he couldn't wait to point out the fact that you had 18 to 24 or something along those lines, and you trimmed them by a couple of inches. Okay, this is before anything happened. All right, and and you trimmed them by a couple of inches, and this perfect person referenced that and said the storm was a bust. I mean, are you serious? You're calling something a bust? It hasn't even started. It basically has barely gotten underway.
yeah,
Plus, I wouldn't necessarily call a shaving of a few inches off the top um, a bust. To me, I don't know. Maybe I have a different definition of a bust. If 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 we're going to if we forecast a coating to a couple of inches, and I've had people call it a bust, by the way. You forecast a coating to a couple of inches, and you get a coating to a couple of inches, and it's called a bust. I don't understand that. How could it be a bust? Forecast wasn't a bust. Maybe your overinflated ideas that a coating to a couple of inch snowfall is somehow going to be turning into a coating to a couple of feet. Yeah, okay, well that's a bust, but that's a bust in your own mind, not in the forecaster's mind. So I just want you to know that I valiantly took my life into my own hands on rage mode and stood up for the National Weather Service. Okay, just so you know.
Thank you, much appreciated. I think when we communicate ranges like that, I think everyone just hears the high end, and if you don't get the high end, it's a bust. I mean, that could be part of it. It's very hard, and those 6-inch ranges that we have at those higher levels, that I think that only 12 to 18 instead of the 18 to 24. It creates a lot of.
I don't know
Not
if
fans
there's
of them.
but I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way or a solution, because um, now I had a big area of 12 plus. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm not good at. I don't think anybody's really very good at picking top numbers. Who wants to go out before the first flakes fall and say that there's going to be 25 inches of snow? Which doesn't happen very often. Those are relatively rare events. It's a number that is very difficult to come to bring forward vocally, without shaking. So I don't know if but there are some people who will criticize you no matter what you do. That's how I've kind of gotten to it in my mind. So I basically don't care. I put out the numbers, and Rayo, I'm sure he feels the same way about this. He puts out the numbers that he thinks are going to be the final numbers. That's what I do. I know that's what you do, Bill, and that's the best you
Mhm.
can do. You can only do the best you can, and if someone has a problem with it, that's
Yeah.
they need to worry about more important things.
Yeah, there is one funny thing that I've noticed in the years that I've been working in the weather service. When we issue a winter storm watch with a long lead time, and we say 6 to 12 inches, there's going to be trouble. You're going to multiply that by two.
Right, right.
Almost always happens. That 6 to 12 with the long lead watch is a code word for stay tuned. Is going to be a lot more.
Yeah. Well, I I I try to get people to understand how fluid weather is. I've been moderately successful. The people that, the folks that know me and know Joe and know, have followed us for all this time. They know our modus operandi. They know how we work.
But
Um,
I will agree with Bill on one thing that he said a couple of minutes ago. And you're absolutely right, Bill. For all of those years that I worked at News 12, 21 years, whenever they had like an editorial meeting beforehand or whatever. So, Joe, how much are we expecting? Well, I think we could add anywhere between 4 to maybe 8 inches, on the outside chance that we might see 10, but just say 4 to 8. Headline tonight, we're preparing for a winter storm. We could see 8, maybe even more inches of snow. And,
Oh
and
yeah.
they never mentioned the bottom end. They never mentioned the range. They're always going for the top, and they're always going. And this goes for every, I think, local media outlet today. The executive producer or the news director. They say hit it hard, hit that number hard, make them think that we're going to get clobbered with a tremendous snowfall. That's the way. That's the name of the game. As Hulk Hogan told Sylvester Stallone in Rocky 2.
Bill Fisher on the chat board. Thank you, Bill. He says, if someone has a problem with your forecast, they can go to Omni True Value Hardware, buy some lumber, and go home and build a big bridge and get over it. Works for me. Okay, I got the satellite loop up because it's been churning while we've been speaking. So this thing won't get out of the way. This upper low is just not moving. If you look at it, it hasn't moved all day. Now, what's going to get this out of the way, Bill? Is it the system that's coming into the Pacific Northwest that's finally going to kick this along?
Yeah, I guess so. We have that. We have that coming late week. Let me pull up my 500 millibar chart and see what.
By the way, if you
What
have anything to share, chart wise, let me turn on the share screen, so this way you guys, if you've got stuff to share, just go ahead and share it, okay? And just let me know you're doing it so I can put you up on the screen. So I'm looking at, we got this the U.S. satellite loop up, and we do have this next weather system that is going to be coming in for Friday. Ahead of that, though, weather conditions are going to improve. You've got this low that is off the New Jersey coast. It's the surface low is there. The whole upper feature that you can see, the big circulation that covers the eastern part of the United States, all that moisture going on toward Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and New Brunswick. The low is going to reform to the east, intensify. It goes out. We're probably going to be windy tomorrow, or at least breezy, if not windy at times, especially at the coast. Temperatures are close to where they should be for this time of year. Thursday will start to calm down. But I've got this. I want to run by this both of you for Friday. So I want to. Of course, I haven't really seen the numerics on the NAM yet. But which by the way, I've been singing the NAM's praises. The NAM was it was in terms of the precip shield on the radar, the banding, and everything else was about as good as you can get. It really did a great job. The HRRR was to me did not do a good job at all with this, but the NAM really just hammered home how useful that model is. Now I'm thinking Friday. This precip comes in around daybreak, and we've got a snow cover here. The winds ahead of that are going to be southwest, and that's not this time of year. The southwest wind is not the most warming wind in the world in a case where you've got a fast moving approaching cold front. And I was just thinking that with the snow cover on the ground, you might be able to chip away a degree or two at the boundary. I mean, we're talking small potatoes here, but I thought maybe that for some areas, there could be a burst of snow when that precip arrives before you eventually go probably over to rain showers before it ends. And that's kind of where my head's at with this. I don't know if that's either of you have looked at it in those terms.
I think there could be a burst of wet snow. I could also see wet snow mixing with some pellets of ice and sleet before the change over to rain. I think in spite of the frozen precip in the morning, temperatures on Friday afternoon could manage to get to or close, at least up here in the Hudson Valley, close to 40. So the question is, how is this going to affect the Friday morning commute? Obviously, wet snow or sleet could cause some slick and slippery road conditions. And I'm not even sure, and maybe Bill could explain what the Weather Service's criteria is for putting out a winter weather advisory, for example, even if there might only be an inch or two of slushy snow or ice. Does that qualify for a winter weather advisory or merely a special weather statement?
That depends on the timing. I mean, if that were going to happen right during the evening, morning, or the evening rush, we could issue a winter weather advisory. Sure. Usually, we wait till we're like closer to 3 inches before doing that, and of course, if there's any freezing rain involved, that gets it automatic. That will issue one right away.
I had a few people ask me this question. I didn't know the answer to it, Bill. Just along the same lines. Some people were looking for a blizzard warning. And I was wondering whether that was discussed in any way.
Oh yeah, sure. We discussed it the day before. We discussed it, and I guess the problem was that we knew that Sunday night and even the first part of Monday morning there was going to be snow, accumulating snow, but we weren't going to see blizzard conditions at that point. So we knew we were not going to start off with one just because of that.
Right.
I think even during the event, I mean, I think I didn't get a chance to look, but I know Islip verified. Like I think right at 12 noon they had 3 straight hours, and there were a couple other places in Connecticut as well. I think it just wasn't as widespread. And I'll be honest, I drove into work that morning, 10, 11 o'clock, and it wasn't that. I mean, the visibility was down, the wind was up, but it wasn't that bad.
Right. Well, it was, when you have banding, that's what happens if you're in between. That was about the time, I think, when the first bands were starting to come ashore. Was the real heavy band was starting.
Yeah, I just caught it. I just caught the first heavy band, and as I was coming south toward the Long Island Expressway, the snowflakes they changed from fine snowflakes that were, and then all of a sudden became these big aggregates, the dendrites, it all sticking together, and but it really the visibility, it wasn't white out. So it's
right. Well, I just thought it was some people had asked that question and wondering, and I just thought is it in the instance of what was going on, I didn't find it to be that important. So whether they put one up or didn't put one up, you still got what you got, which was, from the standpoint for snow lovers, it was pretty good. We have the folks at F5 Weather Radar. I'm sorry, F5 Weather, F5WX.com, have graciously allowed us to use their radar, which I think is better than some other radar we were using, just because you're able to see this a bit better. And we still have some stuff going on in the east, so I can go close up to centered right over New York City and take a look at what's going on if my keyboard would cooperate. And there you can see the last of these bands with the upper low. There's actually some heavier bands that are coming down from western New York, maybe getting enhanced a little bit from Lake Ontario, moving southward into western PA. There have been bands all day long in New Jersey. Those have pushed into southern New Jersey, down into Delaware and the lower Delmarva Peninsula. And then we've got this patch. Looks like it's sitting right over. It looks like it knew we had the show on tonight, Bill, because that patch is sitting right over you and me. And there's even one over Joe Rayo's house.
Yeah,
Look at
that.
We're well aware of that.
All right, so let's roll along and take a look.
And you know what, Joe?
Yes, sir.
And you've said it before. You just know this is going to be this kind of a winter from here on, because there are winters where nothing seems to work. You figure that there's going to be a significant snowfall or something that's going to hit you, and it doesn't. And then there are the winters where even the slightest little thing comes along and leaves behind a coating or a couple of inches of snow. This looks like it's going to be now from here on one of those kind of winters. If there's going to be a little tiny chance of snow, it's going to happen. It looks like.
Well, I've always said in winters where it snows a lot, it just finds a way to do it. Even if it looks like it can't do it, it finds a way to do it.
That's almost like 95, 96 in a way. It seemed like any time.
Yeah, that exactly. It becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's your surface low. It's actually moved a little bit from the prior in the last 6 hours. It looks like it's at about 39 and maybe 71 and a half or so, or 71, and starting to edge away to the east. The gradient is still relatively tight. We've got a high sitting back over in Wisconsin, high pressure extending down into Louisiana. So looks like we're finally going to get this thing out of here. And as we said, the next couple of days look okay. WPC, our friends at WPC, the 7-day precip map. Now, I don't know how much. Well, I'm thinking that they have a quarter to a half an inch here, and I'm thinking that most of that is from Friday. Maybe they're looking at the guidance for the weekend and backed off a little bit, but this does change. They do update this from time to time. Heavier precip offshore and in the southeast, also around the western Great Lakes and central Great Lakes, and a little bit of action going on in the west coast, but not quite as active as what it's been. The forecast for Friday on their 72-hour forecast. Now, I've been, Bill, I started using this the other night, and I'd like to have your opinion on this. So rather than use the part where you see the probability forecast, I switched over to the percentile where they have the forecast in inches, and I clicked it on the 50th percentile. So am I to assume that what that means is that you have a 50% chance of coming underneath this and 50% chance of coming over it? Is that what that means?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. That's not necessarily the official forecast coming from WPC, but that's just the. I guess that's all derived from whatever blend of models they've chosen to to go with in terms of QPF.
Yeah, because this at least is in inches, and I think this I don't know. I think this is just easier to understand with regards to where they think there's a good chance that there might be an inch of snow or 2 inches of snow or 4 or 8 or 12, and they did a pretty good job. This is for this past storm. This is what they have for Friday, so they clearly don't buy my theory necessarily that there could be a burst or at least they don't at the moment. But usually after they watch this show, these maps tend to magically change. I don't know why. But I do have on their long range, and I kind of, Joe and I use the theory of what we usually use with SPC, which is when they put a risk of severe weather in that day 4 to 8 time frame, which they don't usually do. It means that they're paying, that something's caught their eye and they're paying attention. So I kind of use that when I see on the WPC's snow probability for the long range, probability of at least 1/4 of an inch of liquid. So this is for Sunday into Monday. So they are already they've got a 10 to 30% chance all the way down into Northern Virginia. They've got a 30 to 50% chance just west of the city, New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, Connecticut, and they've already even drawn in a few 50 to 70% chance areas up in upstate New York. So clearly they're looking at the weekend system, thinking that there's a possibility that this could come northward and impact the Northeast.
Yeah, I think so. The percentages when you look at those now, 10 to 30% chance of something when it's like right on our doorstep or tomorrow, no big deal. Those type of probabilities that far out are a lot more significant. So yeah, it's caught their eye, and I know. Try not to steal any thunder, but I've seen what the Europeans been doing for the last 3 days.
Yeah, and you can now put the icon in the Europeans' camp. I don't know if you saw the icon this afternoon.
I did not. I just
oh well, I'm going to
European on this because it's
the one thing I want to just say here, but talking about the various models this far out, and we saw this happen in December, and we saw it happen with this storm. Initially, for example, the European, and especially the ensembles members of the European, had this pretty well out away from us. And the same thing holds true for December. And then as we got progressively closer with each passing run, the European and eventually the other models kept pushing us closer and closer and closer to eventually what happened was a storm that looked like it was going to be beyond the 40-70 benchmark ended up being like right next to the Jersey or south of the Long Island coastline, much, much closer than many of the models were alluding to, 3, 4, 5 days in advance. So my question is, and I saw the European bill, and it looks like the perfect scenario for another major storm, but who's to say that, we're how many days out now? We're 5 days out from the storm or whatever. Who's to say that in 3 or 4 days, that same storm, which is so, perfect, is going to actually end up being either passing over us or maybe even to our west and bringing up a lot of mild air and changing the precipitation over the rain. Anything beyond 5 days is really, more guesswork, I think, than anything else. And I love these TV stations. We've got 2 of them now. They're giving out forecasts for 10 days in advance, as if, I'm going to rely on a forecast of something that's happening like 8 or 9 or 10 days from now. So
that's, yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's still like 5 days or thereabouts. It's still a little bit too far to start speculating or getting excited. Maybe when we get within 84 or 72 hours, we can start being more definitive on this. But right now, and of course that's Sunday. How many Super Bowl parties were planned, or if not parties, at least casual social distancing get-togethers to watch this this big game on Sunday afternoon and evening. And the weather, of course, now looks like it's going to be a major player in this.
Well, go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
What happens a lot of the time is these models at day 7, they seem to nail it, and then we get in that day 3 to 5 range, and everything goes haywire. This happens so often that it's like almost predictable.
And then we wait for the NAM.
Yeah,
we just wait for Joe, you remember we were outside the NAM's range, and what did I say? Well, we'll just wait another 24 hours and the NAM will be in range, and then we'll know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So
we did. It's amazing. That model in 2016, when it was the only one to be forecasting like a 25-inch snowstorm for New York, while all the others were going to like 4 to 8 or 5 to 10. And I said, the NAM, it's horrible. When are they going to get rid of this stupid model or whatever? and what happened? The day before or the night before the big storm, All the other models said, we think the NAM is right. And went
Right.
with the
Well,
giant accumulations or whatever.
with respect,
People now, whenever there's a potential major storm now, who are not in the know, so to speak, something that's going to happen, let's say, possibly 3 or 4 days out, they say, "What did the NAM say? What did the NAM do with that?" I said, "It only goes out as far as 60 hours, or 70, 84 hours."
right,
But
we only
I'm
have the
thinking about the
foos to
foos.
60.
I always like to look at the foos, and we only go 60 hours on the foos.
Listen, if you look, we looked at the foos numbers. That's the numerical guidance, both for folks that are in the audience. That's the NAM in numbers, basically, so we can look at different levels and see what the temperatures are going to be at some critical levels, and the wind, and how much precip it generates. It was spot on in so many respects, including the fact that it was going to remain cold enough at the coast to put down a substantial snowfall before any changeover took place. And frankly, the changeover was a minor issue because it came long after the big bands were done anyway. So who cares that it went to, except if you were shoveling it the next day because it was this morning, because
Yeah.
it was like concrete blocks. But it didn't really rain very much last night. It was just like a little bit of drizzle. But the point is that it wasn't going to make a difference if it stayed all snow right through. It would have added an extra inch from what fell last night. Who knows? But with respect to what may happen, now all the models have something there. There's no question. If you look at all the models that go out that far, they all have something. This front that goes through on Friday winds up, stalls out. The bottom part of the front stalls out. Some energy rolls along it in the southern stream. And then you've got the north getting into play. And I've got the 500 up here. So this is right now, of course, and you see the upper low that's sitting right over tomorrow morning, centered right over us, moving out to the east and lifting out because the next system is kicking it along. The trough that's dropping into the lakes, that's going to bring our cold front through here. Then that lifts out. And now you've got some southern energy. And of course, you've got the northern part of the jet stream coming down. And this is going to be different than what we just experienced because this is basically going to amplify that short wave if it phases enough, which the GFS keeps it kind of on the flattish side. You can sort of see that energy go in the southern stream goes out separately from the upper low that's sitting south of James Bay. So it takes a nice looking wave off the southeast coast and moves it out. But that's not the only way this could play out. And I'll point to the icon from this afternoon, which, like the European, and the European's done this now for 5 runs in a row with this system, where it has a much more phased look. With the southern shortwave very well defined here on the upper air bill, you can see it right there, and you got the northern shortwave that comes down and almost phases with it, and then it lifts up in this sort of negatively tilted fashion up the east coast. That's what the Europeans been telegraphing, and I would say, can we look at the GFS and say that it likes to overwhelm? You know how the GFS loves to overwhelm cold air. That might be an error in overwhelming cold air, and that maybe the more dynamic look has a chance of being correct here. I've lost you. Hello, audio, Bill. What'd you do with your audio?
Okay, we have audio now.
Okay, good. Because I just asked you the $99,000 question, and no one was going to be able to hear your answer. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So going into the weekend, this happens all the time with the GFS, where the northern branch of the jet stream tends to be a little bit overwhelming, and these systems that it forecasts in the long range end up being suppressed, and it's a known bias. And that's why when I see that everyone gets excited about the confluent zone aloft, hanging in over New England. That's why I think, okay, it's the GFS doing what it always does. Let's wait for the NAM to get within range, or trust the European a little bit better on those types of things.
Joe, here's your developed low that winds up going very close to almost to our west. This is what the icon did, where it's got a low in southern Mississippi that heads towards Virginia. It has snow here by Sunday morning, and it takes a deepening low sitting just east of the New Jersey coast. I don't know, was that a 988? I can't see. 988 low there, right on the coast, fairly wrapped up. Now, obviously, this is going to change somewhat. We'll have to see. The European was just as deep, but it was out near 40 and 70, and it had mostly snow here. We'll see if that plays out. And of course, the GFS, because of the fact that it overwhelmed cold air, winds up with something much further out. Although on this run, I did notice that other than, unlike the prior run, it actually developed a much better looking wave down here in the southeast. I mean, it passes it out to like 30, I don't know, 38 and what is that, 67-ish? Yeah, 38 and 60, just about 38 and 67, which I believe is a little bit, is somewhat left of what it did earlier today. So we might have to give the GFS at least a few more runs in order to go left if it's wrong about the fact that the cold air is overwhelming cold air and just an overwhelming northern jet that not everything stays flatter. So we'll have to give it at least several more runs to catch up, and there's plenty of time for that to happen. We're still early.
It will.
It will.
No doubt of it.
Okay, you heard it first, folks.
Timing, that's another one of these things, time and time again. It's like, we know it's going to get reeled in. It's just a question of how far. And but of course, the European may, as Joe, as you were saying before, Joe Rayo, I mean, maybe that's already, maybe at this long range, maybe that's going to end up north and west of where it currently.
Well, it's got, I have the European courtesy of Pivotal Weather. Now, yesterday it had what the icon looks like today is kind of what the European looked like yesterday, with a pinched in low right at Sandy Hook. Although it had a very cold surface. I mean, with a low that far left, it actually still had Long Island in all snow, which was amazing to me. But on today's run, on the surface, this is from Pivotal Weather. This is Sunday morning, and then when we go to the 126 hour, which is Sunday afternoon, you've got your low sitting almost in the same spot this last one was, a 93 low. I'm going to just get this loop up. It's easier for me to move maps this way.
But the question is, how is the system that we're looking at for Sunday? See, already we're just bypassing the Friday system. Who cares about Friday? Let's go straight on to Sunday.
No, we talked about Friday. Hold on.
Oh no, the Friday system is very important to this whole thing.
All right, so we'll go back and look at the Friday system then. Here's the Europeans' view of the Friday system. The cold, fairly sharp looking cold front here that comes on through. Whoops, sorry, hang on. Let me go back again. There it is. So here, this is your Friday system. A little bit of snow ahead of it, then a little bit of rain. Front goes by, and then it goes out. Now it comes up your low that comes up from the south into eastern North Carolina, then east of Delaware Bay as a 990. I got to get new glasses. 993. And then on the next frame, it's a 985 low at 40 and 71 and a half. And then, of course, it's gone. I mean, this is like a rocket ship, the way it's moving, and no wonder, because
that's the difference. That's the difference between what we've just had and what may come on Sunday, is the fact that the Sunday system is much more progressive. This thing that we just had, as we pointed out back on Sunday, it idled in neutral gear for a number of hours south and east of Long Island and east of New Jersey. And if you get a storm that's not going to go anywhere for a long period of time, of course you're going to get massive amounts of snow. This one, at least, as you just said, looks like it's moving along like a rocket ship, relatively speaking. So, but unfortunately, the local television outlets are going to be saying, and we have another major storm that's coming our way for Sunday.
Well, now, the big storm.
All they have to do is just inflect their voice and not say anything about accumulations, but the very fact that the way they say it, the average, like the 65-year-old or 70-year-old grandmother or whatever watching it. Oh my goodness, are they saying we're going to have another big snowstorm like we just had? No, but the TV people want you to think that, and the grocery outlets are going to say, yeah, bring it on, come on all in. My wife tried to do a little shopping on Sunday, and she tried to go to the local ShopRite, and she gave up because the line of because of COVID and everything, you're only allowed certain number at a time. There was a line of like 20 people holding their their what do you call it, the carriages or
Baskets.
the baskets or whatever. Well, I mean, waiting to get in, and she just said, "The heck with this! I'll go to another supermarket or whatever." They love it. They love it.
Well, Bill, I got the 500 for Friday. It's up on the screen. I've outlined the important features. So, why is the Friday system important?
All right. Well, the Friday system is going to be important. Not, I think, more after it passes us, because it's going to. It looks like a loft. It's going to set up. It's going to become that proverbial 50-50 low up in the up in the Canadian Maritimes.
So that's right in here. Right.
Yeah.
There.
When we get to like Saturday night and Sunday, it starts to set up. And I guess the other thing that happens in tandem with that is downstream from that, you have big height rises that right near the Davis Strait in Greenland. It's
right up here. Not just big height rises, huge height rises. The anomalies up there are absolutely off the wall.
Yeah, so it's like the blocking pattern recharges after we get rid of the system that we're currently dealing with. It just sort of limps off to the northeast and weakens, and then the Friday system comes through, and that'll set up in the Canadian Maritimes. Mid-level confluence on the backside of that probably set up high pressure in New England. It's important in that respect, and so. The models better get that right too. If we want to, if you're a snow lover and you want to get a good storm on Sunday.
Well, we just had the GFS up. Now the European, interestingly enough, one of the big differences in the European bill is what is the 50-50-ish low is a little deeper on this. So you get a little more height rise here. Along the coast as this trough swings around, and it tries to. It's not nearly as broad. What I would just say is broad bullish. The GFS look of the 500 of the upper air in the east with the jet is this sort of very broad bowl where you almost can't find the southern shortwave separate from the north, whereas the European has a much sharper look because it's got a somewhat deeper, I wouldn't say slightly, but a somewhat deeper low there in over Newfoundland. It has the big, the same big block developing up in the Davis Strait. So you're right. The Friday low is going to be key to the Sunday. If it's deeper and that's going to allow for a little more ridging here, but you don't want too much ridging. But if you get a little bit of ridging, then we may have a shot here for the system to come up the coast.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the looking at the 12Z GFS, what it's doing by Sunday. Yeah, it's 50-50 low. Just looks kind of weak. It's kind of far east. It doesn't look like it's in a great. It doesn't look as if it's in as good a position as what the European was showing to get a snow over the weekend.
Now, what do you think? One of the things I haven't done, and I think it's a blessing, but one of the things that I haven't done in the last 4 or 5 days is really look much beyond what's going on up front and center, and that's typical. Whenever there's a storm around, I really have no time to. None of us have really time to look out in the long range. So this is probably the first time in days that I've moved through the GFS out to 360 hours, and I have to tell you. It looks like a very interesting next couple of weeks with the way things are. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
it really
Yeah,
does.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, looks like we could be busy well into February. At
You know
least
what this looks like, and if you want to use a hockey analogy, this looks like one of the the opposing team has a penalty, and all of a sudden it's a 5-on-4, and you've got shot after shot after shot after shot during that 2-minute power play. We've already had one go into the goal, and now the big question is, are there going to be any more going into the goal over the next couple of weeks?
By the way, I talked to my buddy Phil, who's down in Florida right now, and he's he is enjoying the impacts of this storm down in Florida because it got down to 40 degrees this morning in Orlando, and it barely made it back up into the low 50s today. So the storm, that big circulation, that upper low, has really dragged down some chilly air all the way down into Florida. We gotta just mention all the winter storm warnings are done. We still have coastal flood. Do we have coastal flood warnings or coastal flood advisories? I didn't look.
it was
The
advisories. Yeah,
advisories.
the numbers we had out there were a little bit too high by about a half a foot. I was yesterday I was taking calls from CNN and the Capital Weather Gang. They noticed our forecast for the battery, and they were asking, oh, when asking how this compared to previous events. It's interesting that it caught the eye of people in the national media. You think you're just forecasting for your local folks. There are people all over the place that are paying attention to this and asking the hard questions.
Yeah, we still have some winter storm warnings up for parts of upstate New York. Advisories up in the Hudson Valley. Winter storm warnings up for most of Maine as the rest of this storm plays out there. And just want to give a quick check here with the rest of the country. So let's just really fast as our audience comes from all over. So I just want to take a look here. So you've got a scattering of advisories out in the west, really not too much going on. There's some winter storm warnings up for the Sierra Nevadas. It seems like they've had winter storm warnings up there for a week, and a number of advisories going up along the coast. Also, I don't know if that looks like winter storm watches up for northern Wisconsin. That's for the system that's going to impact us here on Friday. So I just wanted to at least give those areas a mention here. And let's come back to full screen on this
Can I share a screen for a moment?
Oh yeah, go by all means, Joe. Please do.
Um, and actually, Bill actually maybe should be doing this, but I'll save him the effort. One of our people on the chat board was asking, how do you submit a snowfall report to the NWS? So I'm just going to show you how easy it is. Can you see that? Can you see this is the
Yep. It's there.
Okay, so there's the National Weather Service Forecast Office website. This is weather.gov/OKX. And once you get on board there, you take a look. There's the map and information and the legend for the various watches and warnings and advisories that are out. But you want to go below that. Oh, by the way, here's my favorite. Here's my radar, by the way, which it almost looks like a pulsing heart. But like I said, back in the day, I could click on this, get a much bigger view and a more clearer. I'm not even going to get into that anymore. Anyway, you go below the wonderful local radar, and you see a whole bunch of boxes here: radar, current weather, rivers and lakes, satellite information, forecast maps, and right here on the second row, all the way at the right, it says "Submit a storm report." You click on that, which I've just done. Boom, you're taken to a new screen. Submit a storm report. And you click on that button, that blue button that says submit a storm report. When you do that, boom, all you have to do now is just fill in the blanks for the date in question, the time, the event location. In other words, they want your address. If you have a GPS and you know where your home is, you don't have to, but you can put in the latitude and longitude, if known again. It's interesting that I know my coordinate positions, and it says when they post my report, it says 3 miles north of Putnam Valley, because I live 3 miles north of downtown Putnam Valley. The event, your city and town, and the event in county. By the way, Bill, could you tell somebody over at your office that Putnam is spelled wrong?
Oh
It's
my goodness, yeah.
Putnum, Putnam. No, it's Putnam. I always
That's to make up for Manhattan only having one T. We had to.
yeah.
well, thanks for pointing
How
that
many
out.
how many forms did you have to fill out in order to make those corrections?
No, I send an email to somebody and it gets something like that gets done as opposed to
Just
you know
send it
the radar thing that you complain that's way up in the stratosphere compared to making a change like this.
I'll
That's,
bet.
Just go back to the office and
higher
say
up higher up on the food chain, right?
yeah
The
exactly.
government food chain. Snow accumulation, you could do that. Snow duration, this is interesting. You can go, from the time that the snow started to the time of your observation, it could go all the way out as much as 12 hours. And if you think that the storm is over, which moi did at 3 o'clock, you put storm total, unknowing of the fact that we were going to have some locally heavy snow bands, or not snow bands, but snow showers, which would continue to drop accumulating snow on him. By the way, the Weather Service put out a special weather statement for those snow amounts at 7 o'clock. Some of the snow showers, they said, could be anywhere from coating to up to an inch. Well, I've already had about a third of an inch, so there you go. Event, county, and state. And then there are other things for, in case you're talking about hail or sleet or the duration of rain, flood impact, wind. Obviously, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now in terms of snow accumulation. And finally, you can include your name. This is volunteer. You don't have to fill this out, but you can put your name, your email, your phone number. If you're a Skywarn spotter, you're asked to put your number in, or your affiliation. And you can be general public, Skywarn spotter, news media, emergency manager, blah, 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 blah. And then you just simply clicked on that submit button and you're off to the races. And your observation is officially logged. And then when Bill sees it, Bill will list it with all of those many hundreds of other observations. So you could have your day in the sun or in the snow. And everybody will know how much snow or wind or rain or hail or whatever you have. And
I mean, we use as many of them as we can, as long as they seem to fit the big picture. I mean, if you're measuring snow drifts, for example, we'll see that it'll stand out like a sore thumb compared to other observations. Or
right.
So we do some quality control, and sometimes things are just happening so quickly that that's possible that it may not that an observation may not make the report, but we're looking at every single one. I can tell you that.
I got a question.
Yours came in last night, matter of fact, Joe.
What's that?
Excuse me?
I said, Joe Ray, I did see when yours came in last night. I saw 3 North Putnam Valley. I'm like, it's got to be Mr. Rayo.
It was Mr. Rayo. And by the way, I still list myself as news media because you never know, something may happen. I actually, even though I've been out of television now for a year, I did continue to I recertified one of my seals of approval in broadcasting. So I figured if I did that, I'm still. And this is in a way news media, right? What we do, Joe?
Yeah, no.
Show.
What do you mean in a way?
Outlook.
What do you mean in a way?
Well, I should say we know that
you have got to get. You know what? We are every bit as we are on par, if not above, what they do. Okay.
Well, we all know that not a few of the local TV weathercasters. In fact, we had one such demonstration.
We know they're lurking. We know they're watching.
They're watching.
No, we know they. Well, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry. You tell them.
Whatever we say, I mean, you can tell that they're probably taking notes. And then when they go on the air a few hours later,
which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Which is perfectly fine. The the bill and the residual check will be, hopefully in the mail to us, but I don't think so.
Tim Beltman, who was up in the Albany area, you're still very employable, Joe Rayo. TV stations would be so lucky to have you. I appreciate the thought, Tim. And in fact, I did I submitted a portfolio, for God's sake, to one of the TV stations up in Albany when they had an opening there about a year ago. And not only did I not get a response, either thank you very much, but we're not interested, or even a phone call or something like that, but I eventually found out that what they did was they hired two young ladies who, one of them was still in college, the other one was had just graduated, and they are the on-camera people at that television station now. And I'm saying to myself, well, I guess the gray hair must have scared them off from the 40 plus years of experience in radio and television. Because and that doesn't bother me now anymore, because I know that, combined, Joe and I just, we have a lot of experience, and we want to give out our information and our details on weather to the general public. So we do it through this uh, social media site. They don't
Our
want it.
audience is bigger than theirs is, Joe. It
Yeah,
is. Our
it,
audience is big relative to the reach. uh, they can't touch us. Plain and simple.
I think I told this once before. I had to go back when I was working for News 12. They everybody had to go to a social media class. 8 hours. We had to go to Bethpage, sit in this big auditorium, and listen to these two or three people jabber on about the internet. This was about 10 years ago now. And at the end, they said, "Do you have any questions?" I raised my hand and I said, "Let me give you a hypothetical situation." I said, "A tornado has just ripped across the middle of Westchester." I was thinking about that tornado that hit back in 2007, I believe. It just
Yeah.
cut across Westchester, and it was an F2, and somebody 5 minutes before airtime for the 5 o'clock news, somebody has sent us or sent me a video, a spectacular video of that tornado as it's going across the Sawmill Parkway or whatever. But now I only have enough time either to give it to the executive producer so that we could put it on the air at the top of the show, or I could put it on my Facebook page. What do I do? Do I put it on Facebook first, or do I give it to the executive producer so that we have it on television first? And you want to know what the guy came back with? He said, "Put it on your Facebook page
Yeah,
first," which I
exactly.
could not believe.
I
That
that
blew me away. I said, "You are
Why?
kidding me." But you know what? In the overview of things now, 10 years later, he's absolutely right.
Yeah. No, of course he was. Uh, that was a turning point back many. You go back years ago, but that's just there are turning points where radio gave way to television, and then there's turning points where the standard free air television gave way to cable. Then there was the evolution of social media, and now, of course, cable has given way to streaming. So you get to these turning points where sort of these critical junctures where the technology changes, and how you communicate and how you distribute all this stuff. And guess which media outlet right now is the fastest growing media outlet out there?
You mean in terms of Facebook or
Well, of all the
Twitter?
the media that's out there, uh, that you can access, the CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, those channels, and then add all your other outlets, including the one we're on. Guess which one is the fastest growing?
I don't know. I'm not even going to take a guess. You reveal to us
We're on
the
it.
answer,
YouTube.
right? YouTube.
YouTube. They are
I
growing
mean,
by leaps and bounds, and
yeah,
we're on YouTube, and that's where we should be on. So we're in the right place. Everybody else is in the wrong place. We're in the right place.
yes.
Okay. No, seriously.
And
I
I
mean,
know.
YouTube. Google came out with spectacular earnings today, and one of the things that was cited was the spectacular growth in YouTube. So we're where we need to be. So let's do a little Briller Jeopardy. Uh, so as we wrap up the program, and before we do that, the chairman Scott Briller, who's working tonight doing his COVID runs, uh, wanted me to ask you, Bill, is there a record for the most consecutive hours of New York City Central Park reporting snow?
Oh boy, I don't even think I don't even know that we have a record like that. We could probably like go through and maybe come up with it. I don't know if
All right,
I
so it's not a handy thing.
yeah, I wouldn't think so. I mean, we probably just like maybe just the duration of a big snow event. We'd probably be able to find out that, you know, for some of the big snowfall events.
Okay. All right, so
Bill,
here.
before one more thing,
Good.
Bill, are you aware of maybe you know of this gentleman? I've mentioned him before, Rob Friedelwitz. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I haven't.
This guy is absolutely amazing. He has a what he calls a New York City weather archive, and I mean, like, he'll give you some crazy stuff on a day by day basis about weather. Like, you know, the February 2nd, on this day in 1921, the high and the low temperature were separated by only 2 degrees, which was similar to what happened in 1937. And I mean, like, crazy off the wall stuff. And I'm trying to find his website here. If I can find it, I'll put it on the chat board. I mean, you want to find out some obscure stuff about historic stuff about New York City weather. This is the guy who would probably do it. I'm going to see if this will come out. I'm going to paste it on the chat board. Well, there you go. That's a long.
You have to tiny URL it.
Yeah, that's the best thing. So while I'm doing that, why don't
Okay.
you do the British?
I'll answer Bill Rogers' question. He says, now that I'm a snowbird from Georgia, have I thought about working at the Weather Channel? The answer to your question is no, I haven't thought about it. And that's it. I won't think about it. Okay. So, of course, today is the day where the rodent comes out and is glorified as a professional. Let's put it that way. Mine, of course, went into my 350-degree preheated Viking oven, but no matter. So for Briller Jeopardy tonight, we have the category is the movie Groundhog Day. So let's. I've just seen part of it. I've never really sat through the whole thing.
It's on American Movie Classics right now, and it's being run continuously until 1 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Oh, good Lord!
They're doing what TNT and TBS does with the Christmas Story on Christmas Day.
All right.
So if you want to see it, it's on for another few more hours.
Well, I don't. I'm going to bed. Question one: what state was the Groundhog Day movie shot in? What state was the movie shot in? Pennsylvania, Illinois, Michigan, or Wisconsin?
It would make sense to have it in Pennsylvania, but probably it's somewhere else. I'll say Wisconsin.
Bill?
All right. I'm going to second that. That's what I was thinking.
Illinois.
Illinois.
All right. What year did the Groundhog Day movie come out? 1983, 1993, 2003.
I know the answer to this question because when you go to watch a movie or something, it tells you the little capsule summary. So I don't know if I should disqualify myself.
No, go ahead and answer it.
1993.
So Bill, second it.
All right.
Second it.
Well, I guess it's 1990. If Joe knows, he knows.
1993. Phil Connors' life resets every Groundhog Day at what time? 5 a.m., 6 a.m., or 7 a.m.?
6 o'clock, 6 a.m., right? That's when his little digital clock in his hotel or motel room flicks over. And
you've clearly seen the movie.
Yeah.
No, but I actually learned something. On the third go-around, on the third time, he did something which I never noticed before. Before he goes to sleep, figuring that, it's crazy. Is this going to repeat again tomorrow? There's a pencil by his radio. He breaks the pencil and puts it next to the radio. And when he wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning, the first thing he does is pick up the pencil. The pencil is back to back
the way it was. Again. What song plays every morning when he wakes up? Here Comes the Sun, I've Got You, Babe, Superstar, Happy Together.
Personally, being a Karen Carpenter fan, I wish it was Superstar, but it's Sonny and Cher. I got you, babe.
Bill, second that.
Second, Bill.
Now, I was going to guess Happy Together. I only saw the movie once. So
All right, no, it's I Got You, Babe. What actress played Bill Murray's love interest in Groundhog Day? Was it Addie McDowell, Cher, Meryl Streep, Nicole Kidman?
I'm not saying anything. Let Bill answer this one.
Andy McDowell.
Bingo. That is correct. I don't have a prize for you, however. There are no prizes for Briller Jeopardy, just so you know. Sorry.
Is that it?
That's it. That's it.
All right.
I just wanted to check something here. Nope, I guess that's not going to work. Hang on. Just hang on 1 second. I want to do a shameless self-promotion if I get the opportunity to do it. No, I'm not going to be able to double check that. I'll let you know tomorrow. Okay, so let me just say big thank yous to Kylo Tech and Anthony Camuccio and Kylo Tech again, all hitting super chat tonight. Thank you so very much. Mr. Goodman, as always, you are our favorite guest, and we always love having you. Thank you so much for being here, and you always know the door is open. So just like you did tonight, message me beforehand, and I'll send you the link, and you're on, and you're on the air. Okay.
Great. Except this time I'm going to start with no, we didn't change the radar, and no, they're not changing the EPL. We'll get that over with quick, and you can't.
Okay. It's gonna take an act of Congress to get this done.
Maybe.
All right, folks. Thanks for being here tonight. Hope you had a good weekend and you survived the second big snowstorm of this winter. And by the way, just a quick mention. I am noticing that the winter is over crowd that was on our chat board in the last 6 weeks. They've been missing in action for the last 4 or 5 days. I wonder why. Not that I would not that I would call attention to them, right, Joe?
Yeah. One last thing is that do either one of you know what's going to happen tomorrow at 4:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time?
No.
Bill, you have any idea?
I do.
No idea.
It will be the exact midpoint of winter.
Oh, okay.
We will be midway between last December's winter solstice and the upcoming vernal equinox on March the 20th. So tomorrow, winter is at least
over.
the astronomical point. It'll be half over at 4:49 tomorrow.
And we've had almost normal snowfall for the entire winter out of 2 storms.
Yes.
And
what will the second half bring?
And plenty of time to go. All right. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at the usual 7:30 start time. Good night, everybody.
Nighty night.
Good night.